that what Lysias says in the letter in reference to Paul? Do we remember? He was a Roman, but what else?
There's no charge.
No, there we go. What he was innocent. There was no. He couldn't find any violation of a Roman law. That's the bottom line. And so there's, even though Lysias writes this to Felix, there's still confusion. What's the confusion?
Why?
Why? We're still trying to answer the question, why? Why was this all, why were there all these problems? So Lysias does exactly what you do. Did you know that? You're exactly like Lysias. What does Lysias do? He passes the buck. You guys like the movie White Christmas? Anybody like that movie? Yeah, there's a song in there. There's always some that was up further up to pass the buck. I don't remember. I can't say it right now, but anyway, they love to be in the army because there's always someone up that you can pass the buck, and that's what he does. Lysias passes the buck to Felix. Now, there's one more final note in this letter that Lysias tells Felix. What's the final thing he tells him? Say that again. There's Claudius Paul. That's one more thing. There you go. Did you hear that? So Lysias has told the high council that you have to go state your case, and you have to go to Caesarea, and you have to stand before the governor and state your case against Paul. Now, I don't know if you remember, this was about, how far was that again? I forgot. 90 miles? No, it had to have been more than that. I forgot how far it was. Anyway, when they went up there, they had to have the high council go up there. Do you think and here's what I was pondering, and this is what I would think. Do you think Lysias thought that maybe just by chance they wouldn't take the trip? I would think so, maybe. And in the back of your mind, wouldn't you be wishing? You're kind of wishing, hey, maybe they won't make the trip. What would that do? What happens to the case if the accusers don't get it gets dismissed, right? The charges are dropped, Paul gets free. And guess what? That is a win-win. That's a win-win. The commander's good, Paul's good, Felix is good. It all just works out. I bet I'm pretty sure that if Paul was able, or Felix was able to let Paul go, it wouldn't bother him one bit. So tonight, we get to watch in our minds, we're going to watch this courtroom drama. And I know that each and every one of you like courtroom shows, don't you? Yeah, a lot of people watch them on TV. So,
I don't want to.
yeah, they're very popular. But here's another thing. All throughout the book of Acts, haven't we seen trials? Haven't we seen people put on charge? I mean, if you remember what happened with Jesus, I know Jesus was back in the Gospels, but then it took place with Peter, it took place with Stephen, it took place with Paul. We've been seeing Christians having to defend themselves in a legal situation. And it's all because of their faith in Jesus. Much like we see in the world today, when people are involved in legal issues, what's the one thing you want if you're going to have a legal issue? What? A lawyer? What else? A good lawyer? Yeah, absolutely. Anything else?
Fair judge.
A good, fair judge. Yeah, this. Boss, you gotta get the good judge. And you have to pay off people? No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, you're.
And as a lawyer, and all that. When I went up, rescue officer never shoot us. It's just this,
Right.
And I was still. That.
Oh, we know you were guilty. Yeah, we know that.
Couldn't get.
Okay, you know. Was it speeding? Was it speeding? No, okay. With all the miles, I didn't know if you had a sanctified foot or not. Oh, okay.
I was gonna say, was it a sheriff at Lusty Morton?
Hey now,
This is up for.
yeah. I can honestly say I've never written anybody in this room a ticket. I don't think. But you do. So if you go into the courtroom, you want an advantage. You want either a good lawyer, you want to make sure you have truth on your side. But the one way to really gain advantage is you want to get that lawyer who knows the tricks of the trade. You want someone who, when they go into that courtroom, that's their arena. They know what they are doing. What happens when one party has an attorney and the other side doesn't? The other side, it's a hard, yeah. It's, and usually when the person represents themselves, they end up looking, because they don't know the rules, because in the courtroom, there are certain rules, there are certain procedures. And if you don't know those rules and procedures, you're going to get yelled at a lot by the one guy who's sitting up above you looking down at you. Okay. He's going to take this little thing and smack it and say, would you please shut up? You're out of order. Okay. Yeah. The party that is not represented well usually will lose. So tonight, we're going to see the beginning of this courtroom drama, but we're going to go back. Okay. So go back to chapter 23. It's pretty much on the same page. Would someone read for us verses 33 all the way up to chapter 24, verse 4? And if the kids are back here, you're going to have to read really loud. So it's someone with a big mouth like me. John, that'd be you. No, I'm just kidding.
When the cavalry arrived in Caesarea, they delivered the letter to the governor and handed Paul over to him. The governor read the letter and asked what province he was from. Learning that he was from Cilicia, he said, I will hear your case when your accusers get here. And then he ordered that Paul be kept under guard in Herod's palace. Before?
Mm-hmm.
5 days later, the high priest Ananias went down to Caesarea with some of the elders and a lawyer named Tertullus, and they brought their charges against Paul before the governor. When Paul was called in, Tertullus presented his case before Felix. We have enjoyed a long period of peace under you, and your foresight has brought about reforms in this nation. Everywhere and in every way, most excellent Phoenix, we acknowledge this with profound gratitude. But in order not to weary you further, I would request that you be kind enough to hear us read.
It's the word of the Lord, amen? So Paul is delivered to the governor Felix, and the governor reads the letter, and he learns something about Paul. And we talked about this just a moment ago. And really, the most important point on that letter, as far as Paul's concerned, is what? He's a Roman citizen. He's a Roman citizen. Now we're going to break this out here in just a little bit, but this is important. It was so important that Lysias puts it in the letter. And so now we're here. Paul's in Caesarea. And then how many days go by before the accusers get there? 5 days. Okay, so Paul has to wait in the palace of Herod for 5 days. But now we're standing in the courtroom of Felix. So here's what's on your paper. The high priest arrives to bring charges against Paul. Now, we're not going to go back to verse 30, but we've kind of seen it before, but I just want you to know that that's there. But here's what I want to do. So we're in the courtroom. We got Felix, we got Tertia, lawyer, and who's all the players? Let's look at the players. Who's really the big guy from Jerusalem who came up? The high priest. What's his name? Ananias. And he brings this guy named, we're gonna call him Turt. No, I'm just kidding. Tertullus. Turt boy. And what's the big T?
Lawyer.
He's a lawyer. So what do lawyers do? They do what? They lie. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely good. Oh, now, not all attorneys do that. I mean, we read it here, but not all attorneys do that. But lawyers, what they do and what their job is to present the case, present the facts. That's what their job is really to do. And to make sure that, bottom line is, they make sure that they follow the rules of order and to make sure no one's rights are violated. That's what they do. Now, who is Tertullus working for? The high priest, Ananias. Do we remember what Ananias was like? Anybody remember? We talked about it a few weeks ago. He was way crooked. He was not a morally good guy. In fact, I even mentioned this several weeks ago, and I know you guys have slept since then, but I did say it. Ananias, well, history shows that he was actually stoned by the Jewish people. He was killed by his own Jewish people because, well, basically he was robbing from the temple and he was corrupt. So he was stoned by his own people. Now, Ananias has his lawyer friend, and shady people love to have the company of other shady people, don't they? And no, I'm just joking. That's a lawyer joke. I don't need to be saying that here. But honestly, think about what Tertullus's job is. I'm just calling him Tertullus. I just think it's Tertullus. I think it's funny to say Tertullus. It's Tertullus. But his job is he's working for Ananias. So he has this agenda, but it's the agenda of Ananias. Now, there's more people there. Who else is there?
Some of the elders.
The elders. What are some of your versions? What do your other versions say? Are they all called elders? Some elders. What? The governor. Okay. The governor's there. Okay. And the elders also came up. So all the elders come into the courtroom. That's called packing the courtroom. You ever heard that before? Packing the courtroom. Packing the courtroom works. Yep. Yep. Packing the courtroom is very, and it shouldn't be, but it's very, very influential. So what they're doing is they're packing the courtroom. Now, we're going to hear these opening comments. If you've ever been in a trial, if you've ever been in the courtroom, you're going to have opening comments. And these opening comments is what we see here. The opening arguments for the prosecution. And we see it in verse 2. Look at verses. Oh, here, let me switch this one here. The lawyer Tertullus presents the case to Felix. Tertullus. Now we're going to look at verses 2 and 3 again. When Paul was called in, Tertullus presented his case before Felix. Now notice what it says. You guys all caught on to this. We have enjoyed a long period of peace under you. Oh, Lord. And your foresight. Oh, your foresight. Oh, your foresight has been it's brought about reforms in this nation. We are a great nation all because of you, Governor. Everywhere and in every way, most excellent Felix. We acknowledge this with what? Profound gratitude. Who's he addressing here? Who is Tertullus addressing? The governor, Felix. That's who he's talking to. Okay? And he starts out by saying, we have enjoyed a long period of peace underneath your leadership. Okay. So now, in verses 2 and 3, notice that, did I already give you this slide? Okay, notice the narrative given by Tertullus. Okay, notice. Okay, so here we go. We have enjoyed. These words by Tertullus are nothing more than buttering him up. I think that's what Barb said just a little bit ago. That's what he's doing, he's buttering him up. He is trying to, in reality, I don't know if you know much about Felix. Felix had a reputation of being a ruthless guy. He was a ruthless person. So when the lawyer says the Jews have enjoyed peace under his leadership, it's not just only flattery, it's a bold lie. That's what Marie said. Oh, well, they all are. They all are, but we'll actually see it. Yeah, we'll actually see it. So he says, look at this. We have enjoyed. Tertullus is probably what? What nation? What? Jewish. Who is he speaking for? The Jewish people, the Jewish High Council. He is a spokesperson for the Jewish people. And now he's saying, we have enjoyed. Ooh.
Yeah.
See,
Some.
I want to read this to you. Most Jews were not safe around this guy. An author by the name of John Scott wrote this. I just want to read it to you. In reality, Felix had put down several insurrections with such barbarous brutality that he earned himself the horror, not the thanks of the Jewish population. In particular, he ordered a massacre of thousands of Jews in Caesarea, with many more Jewish homes looted by the Roman soldiers. It has been said that Felix slaughtered many Jewish people and gave their land and their property to Roman citizens. We have enjoyed? I don't think so. I don't think so.
But the performance, because you hold him as sacrifice, and he's including them in his comments,
He's including.
high priest and his.
Yeah, he is speaking for them. Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah.
They all know they're lying.
Right. We have enjoyed. Oh, look at it. Everywhere and in every way. Boy, you are awesome. Oh, and with profound gratitude, even. I mean, think about this. He's pouring it on so deep, even a shovel won't help you get out of this. I mean, you would need like a tractor to come in. Let me ask you this. Is flattery a sin? The Bible speaks about flattery probably a whole lot more than what we realize. Romans 16:8, Paul writes that if we have smooth talk and flattery, we're not serving the Lord Jesus Christ. Jude 16 says, ungodly people are grumblers. Don't look at me. And they follow their own evil desires. Listen to this. They boast about themselves and they flatter others so that they can get an advantage. If we are looking for an advantage by flattery, if we are looking something and we're using flattery to get it, it's telling us that we want to be God. It is absolutely a sin. The book of Proverbs, there's many proverbs that talk about flattery. You can even read it in the Psalms, talks about flattery. Now, in the book of Proverbs, whenever you talk about flattery, it talks about the sin of sexual immorality. But any kind of flattery is most likely you're trying to get something from someone and you'll just do whatever it can. Now, do you think Felix was smart enough to figure this out? Oh, yeah. One commentator says that Felix was probably smart enough to figure out these Jewish leaders, that they, even though they came all the way from Jerusalem to flatter him, but he also realized that there was something he wanted. Now we got to get back into the mindset of Felix for a second. Felix was, we would call him, he was pretty quick. We would call him in our day and age, we call him street smart. He had street smarts. The history of the governor Felix. The governor Felix was born a slave in the Roman Empire. And now Paul, was he born a slave? No, he was not born a slave. How did he get his? He was born a freeman. Okay. Do you remember the guy who was about to beat Paul? Okay. How did he get his? He bought his. Felix was a slave. This is like the bottom of the barrel. He had a brother by the name of Paulus who was friends with the Emperor Claudius. And it was through this friendship that Paulus actually rose up, was able to get his freedom and rose up in the ranks in the Roman Empire. But then Felix was able to gain his freedom and he gained status. And basically it was because he was smart, he was street smart, and he began to get connections. Oh yes, it's not what you know, it's who you know. So here, Felix was probably, oh, let me back up. The historian Tacitus, everybody heard of that name? There's Josephus and there's Tacitus, a couple of exaggerating historians. We love them. But he describes Felix as a man who still had a slave mentality because he became known as the master of cruelty. And he lusted over the powers of a king, but he still had the spirit of a slave. Felix was a slave at heart, but yet he had all the power, all the influence, all the resources of a governor. So he was able to get just about anything that he wanted. And these Jewish people that were under him, he didn't care about them one bit. He would do evil acts to them, but yet they said, oh, we have enjoyed it. Oh, every way. So let me ask you this. I'll put it this way. The Jewish people have two major battles to overcome in this courtroom drama. Remember, we're in the courtroom. One is they're standing before who? Felix. Felix, how do you think Felix really feels about Jewish people? Fearless. They are nothing but not something to be stomped on. That's one major obstacle they have to get over. Now, the Jewish people, the high priest, the elders, and the lawyer, there's another battle they have to get over, and that's Paul himself. Why is Paul a barrier in this courtroom setting? He knows the law. Okay. Bingo. Did you hear that? He's a Roman citizen who was actually born free. Felix knows, he just read a letter, said he's from Sicily. Can't say it. Cilician, thank you. Right? And so now Felix says, this guy even he's even higher up than I am. So they have two major battles. Paul was a Roman citizen, and Felix had to be very, very careful. He even cuts off his flattery in verse 4. If you read that, look at verse 4. The lawyer says, but in order not to weary you any further, I'm not going to butter you up anymore. I would just request that you be kind enough to hear us briefly. So now we finally get past the buttering up stage, and we're going to move to the accusations. Now, we're going to read verses 5 through 9. Who here has NIV? NIV. Okay. All right. Who here has King James? New King James. Okay. NASB. Anybody? Anybody?
NASB on my phone.
NASB on your phone. Okay. So if you'll look at if you have NIV, if you have an NIV version, you're not going to find a verse 7. Okay. You won't find a verse 7. Okay. So let's someone read for us verses 5 through 9. Now, somebody who has the NIV, someone who has, well, it's going to skip verse 7. Do you have verse 7? Okay. Yeah, it's probably a New King James or NASB. But someone who has NIV, go ahead and read that section for us, if you don't mind, verses 5 through 9.
We have found men to be troublemakers, to be a troublemaker, stirring up riots among the Jews all over the world. He's a ringleader of the Nazarene sect, and even tried to desecrate the temple. We seized him. By examining yourself, you will be able to learn the truth about all these charges we are bringing against. And now,
Go ahead and read verse 9 for us too, please. Yeah, thanks, Mark.
the other Jews joined in the accusations asserting that these things were true.
Right. So if you have NIV, you need to make sure you know that somebody just went in and stole verse 7 out of your Bible. No, where'd it go? And what's interesting about this text, we've saw it in when we were going through Luke, we actually saw it in Romans. There are some versions that are not included in all versions. And this is actually a unique verse. Because this verse is basically, it's historical, has nothing to do with salvation. It's not a salvation issue. So removing it out of the Bible doesn't really mean that much to us as far as a salvation issue. But one way that they decide if they're going to put a verse in a version or not is what they call majority. So they look back at the ancient texts and they try to find out, okay, these texts have it, these texts don't, which one's more? And then they try to decide, well, this one has more, let's go ahead and throw it in there. I mean, that's basically what they do. But in the NIV, if you ever read the NIV, the reason that they'll take text out is because it's not found in more of the older ancient texts. Okay, so verse 7, you'll find that in the New King James and the King James NASB, because it was included in a lot of the versions around the 6th century, even up into the 9th century. But in the NIV, they go back to the 4th century, and verse 7 would not be in that version. And we'll get more there in just a minute, but I only have 8 minutes left, so let's go back. I want to go back to verses 5 and 6, and we're going to try and get through this if we can. I'll have you out of here by 8 o'clock. Okay, go back to verses 5 and 6. Would somebody read verses 5 and 6 for us?
For we have found this man a plague, a creator of dissension among all the Jews throughout the world, and a ringleader of a sect of the Nazarenes. He even tried to profane the temple, and we seized him.
That's good right there. That's good right there. Thank you. That's perfect. So here, what we just read, Tertullus is trying to place Paul on the same level as the revolutionaries. Do you remember back in Acts chapter 21, when they were on the Temple Mount, Paul was in the temple praying, and when he came out, the Jewish people did what? They seized him. They grabbed him. What did they proceed to do to him? They proceeded to beat him. Okay, they proceeded to beat him. At that time, the Roman commander came out with his troops and saved Paul. What was the commander thinking at that time? Do you remember?
It was the Egyptians.
It was very good. It was there was an Egyptian revolutionist who had just come up and caused a lot of problems on the Mount of Olives, and they had to go out and they killed a bunch of his men, but the leader got away. So they thought Paul was this leader coming back. Well, he wasn't. So, but Tertullus is trying to put Paul on the same level as these guys. Now, if you remember back in your history, around Jesus's time, okay, that was 25 years prior to where we are now in our courtroom. In Jesus's time, there was a lot of people who were so-called messiahs. They tried to play themselves up as messiahs, and they would try to do insurrection against the Roman people. And the Romans would come in and they would kill them. And probably you hear these stories around Easter all the time. So they would take those leaders. What would they do with those leaders? They'd what? Kill them. But what else? I mean, how would they kill them? They put them on a cross, usually upside down. But then what would happen to, after they killed the leader, what would happen to all their followers? They're gone. They're gone. Okay. And that's what I love about Christianity. We're still here. They're not getting rid of us, right? They're not getting rid of us. Okay. That's another. Okay. But here's the thing. If Tertullus can get Governor Felix to see Paul on this level, he's won. That's a major coup for this lawyer. So Tertullus says this about Paul. He says he's a troublemaker. Anybody's version say troublemaker? Yeah, he says it. Anybody say plague? Who says plague? Yeah, plague. Anybody say pestilence? I think pestilence. Yeah, pestilence.
Public menace.
Public menace. Yep. Pest. There's one that says pest.
Usage says bad apple.
He is a bad apple. Yep. Yep. He is. And now here's the other thing. He sees he's a pest. Let me go back to your text. Where does it say he's a pest at?
The temple, around the world,
Bingo.
throughout the world.
Throughout the world. Now, let's just step back for a second. If Paul's there and he hears Tertullus saying, this guy is a plague throughout the world, what's Paul doing?
Yeah, good job.
Yeah, he's like, yeah. I'm like, man, I've been to Athens, I've been to Thessalonica, I've been to Italy, I've been to Lystra. Yeah, let's go. I just see this as a compliment. This is a major compliment to Paul. Now, I'm sure he doesn't sit there and go, I'm sure he doesn't beam, but anyway. So the Jewish leaders recognize Paul as being a major plague troublemaker throughout the world, all over the world. Now look at the end of verse 5. Paul's also called the ringleader of this new belief about Jesus and Jesus being the Messiah. What's this new belief called?
Nazarenes.
The Nazarenes. What else? The way. The way. Really, we're called Christianity, so just a little bit, but yep, the way. They are absolutely, this new Nazarene sect is called the way. What Tertullus absolutely meant as an insult does not come out that way to Paul. Now, he's just making a general statement about Paul being the leader, but he's demeaning Paul about him being from Nazareth. Does anybody remember? Let's go back 50 years in our history from the time of this program. How are those from Nazareth viewed?
Yeah.
John chapter 1, right? Can anything really good come from Nazareth? Right? You're trying to tell? No. Yep. It's like saying, can anything really good come from Washington, D.C.? No. Now, there's one more charge against Paul. If you look at everything that Tertullus is saying, the last part is the only one that even, it doesn't, but it even maybe kind of has a hint of being a possible charge, even though there's no evidence. But what's the last one? Profaning, desecrating, what's some other words? Causing problems on the Temple Mount. So that's the charge. They said he profaned the temple. It's all of this, though, is from rumor. It's from their opinion as they're trying to get back at Paul. Now, again, this profaning the temple goes back to Acts chapter 21. Don't forget Acts chapter 21. It's huge. Paul go ahead, Rick.
Been saying, would Felix even care about? Like, would that even be something where he's like, I don't care.
Here's the reason that Paul Felix would care. If Felix is to find a Roman citizen guilty, it's not gonna go well for him. Lysias did the same thing, remember? Lysias was going to beat Paul, and then luckily they stopped, they didn't touch him. Like, this guy's a Roman citizen. If they would have found Paul guilty of something, they better have a lot of evidence. Otherwise, it's not gonna go well for them. Okay, does that make sense? Okay.
They don't really care about Jewish law as much as they care about law.
They absolutely don't care about Jewish law, one bit, in any way, shape, or form. Right. But what he does care about is Paul's there. So-
You're right, and so, sure, they didn't have the temple, right, you go. On this, is that, he gathered, and he was.
After he was beat, the commander allowed him to speak.
You go in.
Okay, let's remember why he was there. Shay, go ahead.
Bottom line is, I think the whole thing wraps around the rioting, involves the rioting aspect of it. He's stirring the pot and causing issues, and that's the biggest thing for the Roman people, is that nobody creates problems, nobody, disturbs the peace, if you will.
Yeah.
And they're gonna squash them, no matter, it doesn't matter if they're Roman citizens or
Right,
not.
right.
And so bottom line is the gig with the temple, all of their roles, that part's like a very minor, that's big to the Jewish leaders, but not to the Romans.
Not to the Romans.
Romans want peace, period, and if somebody's gonna stir the pot, they're gonna take care of
You don't talk bad about the Roman government, period. You don't do anything against that.
Bring you the same. And to me, that was because he was preaching about the Messiah at the temple. I don't know in the temple, but around the temple. You know, together.
Okay, so now let's take that, let's take that though. Okay, let's take that. Did you hear what Barb said? Okay, so,
What were they saying?
right. So remember, Paul had just got to Jerusalem. From the time that we're in the courtroom to the time that he got to Jerusalem is only 12 days. Well, we're going to talk about that. I'm jumping ahead. It's only been 12 days. When he got to Jerusalem, he had been preaching all over the world, right? And he came to Jerusalem. As soon as he got to Jerusalem, who's he talk to? You remember? No. It's the leader of the church in Jerusalem. Who was that? John. I'm pointing to John's. Yep. Remember? Now, here's the thing. So when he gets there, Paul is asked, because everybody was starting to come against him, but he recognized he'd done nothing wrong. But Paul was asked to go to the temple, and this is important for us to remember for the courtroom setting. Paul was asked to go to the temple and take those 4 guys with him to go through the purification rites. Okay, so Paul doesn't do anything. Paul says, I will do this. I don't need this, but I will do it. So then Paul leaves and he goes to the temple and he performs the purification rites. As he's leaving the temple, he gets brought to the side and he gets seized and he gets beat. Now, the whole thing stemmed, anybody remember the guy's name that Paul brought with him from Thessalonica? Trophimus. Trophimus.
He was accused of bringing him into the inner court.
That's right. But he brought him to Jerusalem. We know there was people that came, and he could have gone to the temple or the courtroom of the Gentiles. Right? Remember the wall? Remember the wall? Okay, good. But now, Greg's looking at me like, dude, you're 5 minutes over. Now we're here, and it's all because of Trophimus, really, because Paul is now on trial here in Caesarea. Ooh, very good, very good.
Trophimus is evidence of false works. That's what I have written in my Bible from the end of May.
So Trophimus was a result of Paul's ministry. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Good works.
Yes, yes. Okay? All right. All right, I only got like another 20 minutes to go.
Well, then you came down to kind of stand for city meeting. Because they started with the Messiah. And maybe you're not like,
Oh, absolutely not, absolutely. Well, right. All right, so do you see how this courtroom drama is unfolding? Okay, we haven't even got through the opening statement yet. Okay, and so we'll get to this come January. Okay,
Judge,
now remember, yeah, we need Judge Jude here. You're out of order. The truth, you can't handle the truth. Yes. Next Wednesday night, we will have church. We're having our Christmas Eve service, 5:30. Make sure you're here. In 2 weeks on a Wednesday night, we're having church at 6:30. We're going to have our prayer and Bible reading time. You won't want to miss these 2 weeks. So please show up, be here, and take part in that. Does anybody raise your hand if you have any other questions or comments? Okay, I don't see any hands. Okay, good. All right.
Playing for running over this expensive.
Thank you. Thank you. Michael, would you pray something?
I will.
Thank you.
Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you for this day, for the evening, this time together, and more about your word. Lord, as we get closer to Christmas, Lord, as we finish up this Christmas season, may you continue to fill us with your spirit, Lord. May we continue to be your light in this crazy world. When other people are being less impatient, maybe a little more cranky because of the season and all the things that they think that they need to get done. May we be a little bit nicer to them. May they see you in us. May they see how you would handle this situation during this time. We love you, Lord. May we.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Don't miss next Wednesday, 5:30.